Wambsgans from Succession is a controversial figure for first-generation professionals because many want his success and some are willing to do what he does to get there and others aren't, and so they struggle with seeing themselves being successful at all. It's interesting to see this play out throughout the seasons of Succession and how much fine wine is used as a metaphor for what is going on with Tom emotionally. Granted, I usually talk about people who grew up like blue-collar, working class, barely making ends meet, and it's clear in the season 1 that Tom, his parents are lawyers, at least his mother is, and he grew up in Minnesota, upper middle class. So while he, compared to like people like most of us, has money compared to the Roys and the top 1%, he's still working class. But he marries into the ultra wealthy family because he marries Shiv. You can see through fine wine how much he clings to needing to be accepted by them, and also his inner tumult of it's not going well. You see him kissing up to the Roy family, who he aspires to, and punching down towards Greg, who is a cousin but isn't in the immediate family. The first season, we see Tom take Greg to show off at this very expensive restaurant. They have their heads covered because they're eating something illegal. When they're at this dinner, Greg comments that the wines don't have any prices, and Tom says that's because they're obscene and is really happy about it and talks about how they're going to keep the labels facing outward so people can see how expensive of the wine they are buying. He's performing status, and he's doing it in a way that the actual Roy children don't have to because they have always had the wealth. They don't have to prove it, while Tom is clearly compensating and latching on to this opportunity to show it off to someone who hasn't grown up with that kind of wealth. I researched the unwritten rules of work for people from working class backgrounds, and with all the people I've interviewed or surveyed, a lot of them struggle with this. How much do I perform to show that I belong versus that realizing that to the people who already belong, they don't have to perform. They're just there. Tom does get good at blending in with these people and learning what they want, like when he offers to go to prison for them, but it also costs him a lot. He does a lot that a lot of us aren't willing to do, like offering going to prison and covering up SA that he didn't do, and he wasn't in leadership while it was happening, but he does cover it up. And who does he get to help him cover it up? Greg, because he sees him as below him on the hierarchy. He becomes hollow. He's really cruel to Greg. Has a miserable marriage. Again, we see that with wine. The first investments he and Shiv make as a married couple is in a vineyard. And when they get it back, the first batch of wine, he's really excited to try it, and it's disgusting. They don't like it. But he's really trying to convince himself that he likes it. And it's clearly an analogy on the state of their marriage, that things are not going well. Because while they're trying this wine, Shiv is also telling him that she's tired of hearing him complain about likely going to prison for her father, who won't take responsibility, but she never gets mad at him. She does, but not enough to do anything. And like Tom punches down on Greg, Shiv punches down on Tom. And arguably, Logan, Shiv's father, and her brothers punch down on her and remind her she gets more involved in the company, that she's not in the boys' club and she doesn't get to make the same calls they do. So while this is happening, these discussions are happening, we see Tom with his wine trying to console himself that he has made it and also not being happy with it. My partner and I, after we watched this scene where I was really thinking about this, ironically, I've been reading Kyla Scanlon's In This Economy, and the day after we watched this scene, I read this from the book. Money is a tool, but it is also a symbol. It's sort of like the luxury wine sector, which is $1 trillion a year industry, even though many people can't taste the difference between low and high quality, cheap and expensive red and white wines. As Samuel Hammond, a senior economist at the Foundation for American Innovation, tweeted, "Wine seems to be just a well-studied microcosm of how human beliefs and desires work more generally, namely that they're socially mediated, easily falsified, unconsciously influenced by cues of status and distinction, and relatively impervious to rational self-reflection. How we interact with the world around us is all social. It's almost unconscious, and it's all a little silly." Hammond continues, if a bottle of aged grape piss can sell for thousands of dollars, what other trillion-dollar industries and worldviews are constructed on a foundation of mass preference, falsification, and status-driven self-deception? Almost all of them. This is why y'all see me on here in my t-shirt that says everything is made up, because it is. I'm wearing it in the Hagia Sophia, looking at mosaics of emperors who made mosaics of themselves with literal Mary and Jesus, to show why they had more money than other people, because they were divinely ordained, right? Everything is made up, and the people who make it up for themselves. Even when we know things are made up, we still buy into it. I just wrote a book all about this. It's about my last decade of research with real life stories about real organizations and my own experience. It's written how I talk. It's not written like an academic, I promise, but there are 70 pages of citations just at the end if you want to go nerdy, or if you think I'm full of shit. I am, but not dishonestly. Whether it's Tom's wine obsession or mosaics in the Hagia Sophia, all workplace status symbols are made up, and yet only a few grow up knowing them. So like Tom, we all have to navigate. What are we willing to do? What's too much? What's going to get you what you want, knowing that these people are never going to see you as actually one of them? Developing 6 coaching modules right now, and this is why the first one that I recommend starting with is climbing the ladder without leaving yourself behind. Because while there are certainly other modules and you can take these all individually, each has 2 one-on-one coaching sessions included, I recommend you start with the first one because you have to know what your line is, what your gray area is, and how you can adapt a gray to get you into a green, to get you in, this is going to work for me, but it doesn't contradict with my values. Accepting what you will and won't get out of that. It's very popular for a lot of people to have just given up and be like, nothing's going to change me. I just can't be on that train because the people who refuse to accept that things can change are how the system keeps going. Because if it's not clear, this is a very delicate system built completely on unwritten agreements that we all follow it. From fine wine and the cost of it, what is considered professionalism, to who is considered divinely ordained to be your leader. And I tell the story in the conclusion of my book that I do believe now is a really good time to question these things because we already have so much disruption. We're not in a good economic run right now where jobs are great and people are like, no, don't rock the boat, everything's good. First of all, boats are made to rock. So, okay. Second of all, and I say this in the chapter, it reminds me of when our tire went out on the road and my dad got us all out of the car, this is when I was a kid, and showed us how to change the tire. And we were with another homeschool dad and all of his kids were watching too. And I remember him like elbowing my dad and be like, haha, never let a crisis go to waste, right? My dad was like, you're damn right. So at the end of this book, I implore you, let's not let these crises go to waste. Let's be part of the change.